Dr. Tony Evans, whose sermons, books, and leadership have influenced millions around the world, unexpectedly stepped back from public ministry, leaving followers and congregations momentarily unsettled. Known for his steady presence, his sudden absence was felt immediately across broadcasts, social media, and local church communities. For weeks, congregations noticed a subtle yet undeniable shift. Messages repeated familiar themes, archives of old sermons resurfaced, and online interactions slowed. The change, though quiet, created a sense of collective pause, as those who had grown accustomed to his guidance found themselves wondering what had prompted such a withdrawal. While the world often assumes continuity in leadership, Dr. Evans's silence reminded everyone that even the most dedicated and influential figures sometimes need space to breathe, reflect, and recalibrate, and that true leadership occasionally involves stepping back rather than remaining in constant visibility. Questions and speculation. As Dr. Evans's absence continued, speculation naturally grew. Conversations spread across church networks, social media, and informal communities, fueled by concern and curiosity. Some wondered if health issues had arisen, while others questioned whether he might be retiring or dealing with private personal matters. Even within leadership circles, there was a sense of uncertainty, as colleagues and pastors who relied on his guidance recognized the gap his pause had created. The speculation, however, also reflected the deep connection he had forged over decades. The fact that people noticed, felt concern, and sought answers demonstrated the reach of his influence. What might have been an unsettling silence instead became a mirror, reflecting both the human side of leadership and the love and respect congregants held for a man who had dedicated his life to spiritual guidance and the nurturing of faith across generations. The family perspective. Eventually, clarity arrived not through headlines or official statements, but through the voice of someone who knew him intimately, his wife. She spoke publicly about Dr. Evans' intentional decision to step back, emphasizing that this was not a withdrawal from purpose, but a season of intentional reflection and preparation. Her words reframed what had been seen as absence into a narrative of care, renewal, and thoughtful consideration, helping followers understand that even a leader of his stature recognizes the need for rest and restoration. She highlighted that this pause was a conscious and necessary choice, intended to create space for healing, spiritual replenishment, and renewed vision. Hearing from someone so close offered reassurance that the ministry was neither ending nor weakening, but simply evolving, and that Dr. Evans' influence would continue in ways that would be refreshed, intentional, and fully aligned with his calling. A legacy of leadership. Over decades, Dr. Evans built a ministry that reached far beyond the walls of any single church or community. Through the Urban Alternative, his teachings have impacted over 130 countries. His books have guided countless readers, and his sermons have provided clarity and encouragement to pastors, families, and congregants alike. His work emphasized practical applications of faith, the importance of strong family foundations, and the relevance of spiritual guidance in everyday life. The very real sense of loss felt during his absence highlighted the depth of his impact. The fact that people noticed his silence spoke volumes about the ways he had woven himself into the spiritual lives of so many. Leaders and followers alike recognized that his influence was not temporary or superficial, but enduring, grounded in consistent teaching, relational engagement, and a commitment to fostering wisdom, compassion, and understanding across communities worldwide. The power of renewal. Dr. Evans's pause was not a reflection of weakness, but of thoughtful necessity. After decades of leading, teaching, and ministering, compounded by the personal grief of losing his wife, the demands of spiritual leadership required him to step back. This time allowed him to reflect, restore, and realign, ensuring that when he returned, he would do so with renewed strength and clarity of purpose. Stepping away provided an opportunity to focus on self-care, spiritual nourishment, and contemplation of his next chapter, reinforcing the idea that true leadership requires balance and intentionality. In this light, the pause became less a disruption and more a strategic act of preservation, one that recognized the long-term value of health, wisdom, and thoughtful preparation in service to others. It demonstrated that renewal is not just permissible, but essential for those committed to guiding, teaching, and inspiring others over the long term. Anticipation builds. As news of Dr. Evans's forthcoming return emerged, anticipation and excitement began to grow among congregants, pastors, and faith leaders alike. People speculated about the ways in which his renewed perspective might influence sermons, teachings, and leadership strategies, imagining the potential for fresh insights shaped by rest, reflection, and experience. Communities expressed support, sharing messages of encouragement and gratitude for a leader whose guidance had long shaped their spiritual journeys. This anticipation was not merely curiosity. It was the reflection of a deep relational bond formed over decades, a recognition that his voice carries wisdom, inspiration, and the power to strengthen others in both small and transformative ways. The pause, far from diminishing influence, heightened it, creating a collective eagerness to witness how renewal would translate into teaching, mentorship, and ministry moving forward. A New Season descriptions of a new season by Dr. Evans' wife transformed public perception of his absence. Rather than framing the time away as a setback, followers began to understand it as a chapter of preparation and intentional growth. The concept of a new season emphasized resilience, reflection, and the cyclical nature of life and leadership, reminding people that even those who guide others most powerfully experience periods of pause and rejuvenation. This framing allowed congregants and communities to see his break as an example of thoughtful leadership, one that prioritizes long-term vision, emotional health, and spiritual clarity over short-term appearances. The narrative shifted from worry to optimism, from questions about absence to anticipation for what would emerge next, reinforcing the idea that faith leadership is both human and divinely guided, shaped as much by reflection as by action. The return now, as the season of anticipation reaches its peak, followers look forward to a ministry revitalized, strengthened, and ready to continue impacting lives in new and meaningful ways. Dr. Evans's upcoming return promises fresh perspectives, enhanced clarity, and a renewed voice capable of guiding individuals, families, and congregations with wisdom born of experience, reflection, and resilience. What might have initially appeared as silence is now understood as preparation, a deliberate and thoughtful pause that enhances effectiveness rather than diminishes it. In returning, he embodies the lessons learned during absence, demonstrating that true leadership involves cycles of giving, resting, and returning stronger. For communities around the world, his renewed presence represents hope, faith, and inspiration, offering a model of perseverance, thoughtful care, and the transformative power of spiritual renewal. Through this journey, Dr. Tony Evans continues to show that even a pause can serve as a powerful catalyst for growth, teaching, and meaningful impact, and that the work of ministry is not measured solely in continuous output, but in the depth, clarity, and integrity of guidance shared over a lifetime.